Hello. Some of you may recognise me from the dim and distant past. Well, at the age of 61, I'm now well and truly retired from television. But ironically, it's that which has put me back in harness for this DVD to help make older drivers safer on our roads. Now, with our advancing years, none of us are as fit as we used to be. We've perhaps slowed down a little bit, our eyesight isn't what it once was, that kind of thing. But in a county the size of North Yorkshire, it's essential that us ageing drivers, now more than a fifth of the UK population and growing, keep on trucking. Let's briefly talk figures. While us wrinklies have far fewer crashes than drivers in their late teens or 20s, we are between 2 and 5 times more likely to be killed or seriously injured, largely because of increased frailty. It's also true, and we have to admit it, that after decades of driving, in my case nearly 40 years, we've picked up some dangerous and nasty habits. So it's essential that those are put right in order for us to keep on driving safely for as long as possible. Oh, and of course to make the roads safer for others. North Yorkshire's England's largest county, which means, Andrew Santon from the County Council, that older drivers face a lot of issues here.
Well, yes, they do. It's such a lovely place to come and live, and we want older members of our population to keep independent for longer and enjoy the county in all its glory.
So I'm an older driver. I wonder how safe I am.
Well, should we go and have a look and see how you get on?
I think we'd better.
Yeah. Oh, don't forget, Andy, seatbelts on first.
Very important point. So Andrew, we're lucky in this part of the world, aren't we? Look at this wonderful scenery and hundreds of miles of winding leisure roads.
But of course, they have their own problems as well, Andy, of course. I mean, we've got wildlife here on the side, the sheep, and they could jump out any time. So, you know, beware, because they're going to be just thinking about what they're doing and they're just going to be wandering across in front of you.
Am I doing this right?
Yeah, that's fine. Just go carefully. Oh.
There he goes. She goes.
Absolutely. And be careful with that, you know, do keep checking your mirrors regularly so you know who's behind you.
Right.
It's no good you stopping suddenly for a sheep if the driver behind then ploughs into you as well. I mean, we've got areas where we can't see. We can see the road well ahead, but look at this, around this next bend, we have no idea what's there, an area of what we call a dead ground.
So what should I be doing at this point?
Well, going in cautiously, always be driving to speed that you can stop in the distance you can see to be clear, so that you're not hurtling into these sort of areas. Looking for places that you could move into if you had somebody coming towards you. Ah, here we go again.
Another hazard.
That's right.
Luckily that one got across her fairly quickly.
Yeah.
So in fact the distractions on roads like this are every bit as bad as on busy roads.
Yes, and of course, talking about distractions, what wonderful countryside we're driving in. So you might be on a leisure drive, but don't forget that there will be people who are earning a living in this area and using these roads to get from one place to another.
And here's a case in point. I've had to slow down to let, because the road's a bit narrow.
That's right.
Let that driver through.
If we were on this narrow stretch now, Andy, and you had a vehicle coming towards you, and there was a place on the other side of the road, what would you do? Where would you go?
Well, my inclination would be to pull off on the other into the Leyburn, the other side of the road.
Right. The best thing would be to stay on your side of the road and let that driver go into that space.
Another distraction, I suppose, the weather.
Well, as we've got today, I mean, we've got sort of pools of water on this road when they can affect your steering and your stopping distances. You don't know what's in that pool. There could be a big pothole. And as you can see, we've got somebody coming towards us now, Andy.
Yes, a wide van.
Yeah, a white van. Somebody's doing deliveries. So look for somewhere where you could maybe wait for him.
And he's yeah, because another hazard is the little ditch on the other side of the road there.
Yeah, be very careful because the verges are soft and we could get in that and end up being stuck. So don't just zoom off the road. Have a look at what the verge is like first.
At least he thanked me.
Did he? Oh, that was good. Yes, courtesy. Doesn't cost anything and it goes a long way.
Another little hazard here.
Yeah.
Let's get past this fella. Thank you.
You don't see enough of it nowadays, do you, of people being courtesy to each other?
No, it is important, isn't it? Because it encourages you to be a better driver.
Absolutely.
And what about drivers behind who want to get past? Pull in.
Yep, absolutely. Find somewhere that you can pull in safely and let them go through.
Now, as you get older, of course, it's a little bit more difficult to judge the space you have.
Yeah, I mean, this is where your familiarity of your vehicle comes into playing, doesn't it? You know, be aware of just how wide your vehicle is, your door mirrors, and how far things stick out.
So, am I doing it right, or am I going wrong, or how am I doing generally?
I would say you're doing fine, Andy, and your speed is such that you can cope with anything that crops up, which is nice to see.
A bit of a stiff back, Andrew.
Got a bit of a stiff back, yeah. Do you find this uncomfortable, this car?
Actually, no, this is better than my own car because it's higher and there's more access. But it's important for older drivers to look at the kind of car they're driving, is it not?
Oh, definitely, because they need to get something that's suitable for their needs. But really, that's a personal choice. I think it's important if you're going to change your car as you get older, that you actually go for a sufficiently long test drive as well. Don't just go 5 minutes around the block, because you won't determine whether the car's comfortable or not. And also, if you're going to go to an automatic from a manual, do spend some time getting used to that before you make the decision as well. The other thing to consider is whether it's automatic or manual. I know this is automatic, and have you found that quite easy to drive?
Very easy, yes.
I mean, some people do as they get older, but again, if you've been used to a manual car, get used to the automatic before you make that decision, because it could be quite dramatic if results if you went from a manual into automatic.
So in other words, think hard and look hard at the vehicle you're proposing to drive as you get older.
Absolutely.
A bit like planning for a long journey.
Yeah, quite right too, because you might have just been using your car for short trips and then planning a weekend away. And check your car over, make sure that things like the tyre pressures are all right, that your windscreen washers are all topped up, and that the oil and things are all ready as well.
Basic common sense.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. So, shall we continue with our journey?
Might as well.
Okay.
Now, I have noticed, Andrew, that as I say, I'm 61, I'm ageing myself, but my eyesight is starting to deteriorate a little bit.
Yeah, it's something that you need to be careful of, and don't be frightened of going for regular eyesight checks. You should be able to read a number plate at 20.5 metres. So yeah, it's important to keep check on that.
And your general overall health as well?
Yeah, I mean, when you're 70, you'll be getting a form from the DVLA, and this is just like a self-certification form. Put a tick in a box, and that will be sent back, and you'll get your licence reissued, and you'll get a form every so often. But any questions that you can't answer, go and have a chat to your GP about them. Now, I think we're coming up to a fairly busy junction up here, aren't we?
With presumably a lot of hazards.
If I remember rightly, it's coming out onto a dual carriageway.
So what do we have to watch out for?
Well, judging the speed and distance of traffic, really, we're going to be going across the dual carriageway, and we'll have to make sure that the gap in the centre is clear before we leave the safety of the road that we're in. So make sure we've got somewhere to go to before we actually cross the first carriageway. If in doubt, don't pull out.
At the risk of angering other drivers behind you?
Yeah, you may feel pressure from drivers behind, but remember, you're the one that's got to make the decision. If you pull out and it's not safe, you could get hurt.
Right. Well, here we are. We're at that junction now. It's actually a staggered junction, I think. Right. Now, we have a driver in front of us.
Yeah, so we've got to watch carefully. We've got to, it looks as though he's going across as well, so we'll have to make sure that he's cleared the central reservation before we pull into that gap. Whilst we're here, start to have a look and see what the conditions are like.
Well,
what's the volume of traffic like?
I've got restricted visibility either way.
Right. Now, you see that heavy goods vehicle? That's going to sort of block traffic that could be in that outside lane. So be really sure it's safe before we pull out.
You see, I don't feel safe going out now, even though there's a...
Absolutely.
Now, the driver in front managed to get across okay.
Yeah, he's cleared that, hasn't he?
Right, we're clear to the right, and it looks like we're clear to the left. So move into the central reservation.
And if it's clear again this way?
Double check.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, and we're straight over.
And away we go then, excellent, yeah. That was fine. The main thing is not to rush, so that you're happy it's safe before you pull out.
Right, right. And we're coming up to Leyburn Band here, 1 in 4.
Yep, I mean, you've got lots of experience, so use this experience to control the situation. Don't be put off by drivers behind who might be pressurising you.
Or the view.
Or the view, that's right. Select the correct gear and go down in full control.
It is, elder drivers might be slightly worried about the pressure being put on them by drivers behind if they choose to drive slowly.
Well, in a situation like this, it's important to come down in control, isn't it? But if that is a worry, don't be frightened of pulling in where you can and letting other people go past.
Now we're just coming into a 30 zone here.
Yeah, you should always try and match your speed as you're coming into a 30 zone. They are a maximum speed.
Not a speed you have to achieve.
No, quite. We always drive at a speed that's suitable for the road and traffic conditions.
Now the character of the road's changing now. It's becoming more twisty as we come down into the village. Hazards?
Absolutely. Watch for people struggling up the hill. There could be cyclists struggling up the hill. We're coming into Sands End and it's a lovely seaside place. I mean, look, we've got families out here coming to the sea and just they won't be concentrating on you. They'll be watching the scenery, so you have to watch for them as well. Their priority is getting onto the beach, isn't it? And they're not going to be thinking less about what you're doing. And watch here as well, Andy, with all these parked cars around.
So slow down and leave plenty of space.
Yeah, keep well into this left-hand side of the road. Watch for people opening their car doors. Are people going to step from behind that Land Rover? Well, what will the driver have to do there? There's children with fishing nets and surfboards.
Is my positioning on the road safe enough?
It is now, yes, keeping well into the left. You'll have to think carefully about this cyclist we're going to be dealing with and choose when it's going to be safe to go past him if we can.
On a bend, yes.
With his bag of what he's carrying as well.
Right, there's another
Good,
car
well
coming.
done.
Right, okay.
That's right. And of course we've got a major hazard coming up, this bridge in Sands End.
Which is really only wide enough for one vehicle.
It's down to courtesy again here. There's no road markings to tell you which traffic gives way to which. It is down to courtesy.
Right, and there's a couple of pedestrians with children on the
Yeah.
other side of the road, so I've got to be careful there.
That's right.
Give this car enough space
To get round.
to let me. That's safely negotiated anyway.
Yeah. And of course we're still in our 30 at the moment.
Whoops. Well, I'm
Yeah, well done.
keeping speed well down.
I know sometimes you're tempted by a stretch of open road to get going, but we've got pedestrians meandering across the road here.
Let them go safely through. Now we're out into a 40 zone.
Yep.
I'm never sure whether to indicate in situations like this because I'm not going to be actually turning left.
So I would indicate now to indicate to this Saab driver that we want this side road.
She wasn't sure what I was doing anyway. Right.
No. Now, of course, we're now coming to this very narrow road. Believe it or not, the speed limit is still 30 down here, but there's no way you would do it. And it is two-way as well.
Two-way?
Yeah, so there's a good chance you could have vehicles coming towards you. So be aware of that and look for somewhere where you could wait for them to move into.
Like now.
Here, yes.
Now he's moving over for me, I
Right,
think.
okay then, so we can go through.
Thank you, Mr. Fire and Rescue. Very courteous. Now it's my turn.
Yep.
Now I'm not deliberately not flashing.
No, you're quite right, and I wouldn't flash because it's going to confuse the issue, isn't it?
So there was not room for that driver to pull in behind the other one?
No. Really, it showed a lack of mirror work from the lady in the blue car there because she wasn't aware of the driver behind. We'll be turning right at the end of the road, Andy.
Okay. Right, this is getting serious now.
Yep. People walking out and just stepping out. Limited visibility here.
It's one way.
Yep. And we'll do the left turn at the end, please, Andy.
Right. Always a hold up on the swing bridge here, isn't there? The bridge, rather.
Yes. It's a pinch point in Whitby. It's very busy, what with the traffic lights and all the pedestrians crossing it as well. And sometimes when the bridge opens, of course, everything stops then to allow vessels out of the harbour.
Yeah, the temptation is to concentrate on the traffic in front of you, so you make sure you get through the lights while they're still green.
Yeah.
Ignoring your mirrors, but.
Vital to keep an eye on those mirrors. Just look how these pedestrians, they see the footpaths on the swing bridge aren't really wide enough for the sheer volume of pedestrians we have in the season. So you will get people like the people here just stepping out into the road, and you've just got to go so carefully across the bridge.
kids as well, often
Yep,
with kids in tow.
that's right. Drivers stopping and turning, and again keep your eye on for any motorcyclists or cyclists around as well.
It's a real hazard point, isn't it, that bridge?
Yes, so you just have to concentrate fully on the job of driving. And of course, if you've gone away somewhere or you're away on a leisure trip, it's all very tempting to get distracted by a new town or a new area that you're not sure about, and you can lose concentration on what actually is happening on the road in front of you.
Well, I have to say, it's not only been fun, if I can say that, but it's been very informative, and I've picked up a lot actually.
Oh, I'm glad you've enjoyed it then, Andy. Because what we're trying to do, you see, here in North Yorkshire is we want drivers to keep independent and enjoy their driving for as long as possible, and to do it safely.
Now, you actually run refresher courses, especially for older drivers.
Yes, we do. In North Yorkshire, people can contact North Yorkshire County Council, and we can arrange a refresher session with an approved driving instructor. And the best thing about it is the first hour is free.
Free, and so they'd be really useful for older drivers.
Yes, they would be, and we would encourage people to contact us, and we can make arrangements to take them out.
And hopefully done in such a way that they don't feel under pressure or intimidated or anything like that.
Well, hopefully you haven't. I mean, we're here to help and encourage people to come forward and contact us.
Well, we're at the famous Whalebones, Andrew. As I say, thank you very much for your time and your patience, it has to be said.
Thank you, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of your driving.
I most certainly will.
Thanks so much. Nice to meet you anyway.
Keep out of the rain.
Yeah,
Keep
okay.
dry.
Take care then. Thanks very much, Andy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.